with Meshell as she talks about life. Everyday people just trying to make it through life. Keep it 100 with Meshell as she talks about life.
So, good afternoon at the top of the day. Good morning, good evening, whenever you find this message. So, yes, I do know I am off schedule today. So, we are supposed to go live tonight for our 8 p.m. segment, but we're not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to take the evening off, and it is okay. Take it off for some good self-care. So, but I did want to step in real quick on this afternoon, and I just wanted to just chat just a little bit about what was in my spirit. I'm asking you to share this message. I'm hoping and praying that it will help somebody. It literally helped me. I have been hearing it all week, but yesterday when I woke up, it was in my spirit, and then today, same thing, just like yesterday's segment. So I just want to talk about, I want to talk about trauma bonding. Yeah, I said it. I want to talk about trauma bonding. I want to ask just a few questions. And the first question is, what kind of relationship are you in? What does your relationship that you are in look like? I'm not just talking about a husband and wife. I'm talking about the dynamic between you and your family, you and your brothers and your sisters, the relationship between your friends, your co-workers, all of that. Like the people that you tell your stuff to, right? Right. So the people that you tell your stuff to, I don't just give my to just anybody, right? There is a such thing as called trauma binding. I've been in two relationships in my life where they were both of that relationship, they were toxic. The people were toxic, and then there were moments in the relationship where I was toxic. But our connection that looked like it was a God sent thing. That relationship that looked like they were my lifesavers, that relationship that looked like, I could not move, speak, or do anything without that other individual. It stemmed and it grew from trauma binding. I'll just say for instance, one relationship when I met the guy, I wasn't looking for anybody, at all. But I actually had just lost my son. So I just lost my son, and we connected. We had a conversation, generally a conversation. He wasn't my type of tea, and I probably wasn't his either. But at that moment, we both needed a shoulder to lean on. And so our conversations began to be about a death. Like I said, I lost my son. This individual had lost a family member as well. And so I knew what he was crying about, and he knew what I was crying about. There was moments when I felt like I couldn't make it, I couldn't survive, and I pick up the phone and I'm calling that individual, and that individual, because they could relate to what it was that was my trauma, then they could relate to my trauma. Then we were able to hold a conversation, and we were able to bond because of our trauma, right? And then all of a sudden, I began to think that this was my spouse. I began to think that I was overwhelmingly in love with this individual, but the only thing that we had in common was our trauma, was talking about death, talking about it wasn't like death, but it was just talking about being able to relate. I know that 3 o'clock in the morning, I know what it feels like when you're overwhelmed and you're crying and there's nobody else that's there. Well, he was able to relate, and so we began to just bond because of that. And so I just wanted today to just stop and ask you, who are you trauma bonding with? Are you even trauma bonding? Because some people don't even know that they are in a relationship. But if you read the definition of it, it's normally talking about a person who is abused by someone who takes your trauma. It's so many different definitions of it, but someone who takes your trauma, the things that you've experienced, the things that you've cried about, the things that you are going through at the moment, your weakness, and they take it and they use it against you. That's also called trauma bonding. And and if you be honest, there are some people who know what they're doing. They know that they are entering this relationship knowing that you are weak and you are vulnerable and you're going through and you're looking for someone to be that Superman, or that Superwoman to what it is you're going through. And your focus begins to be on them being the person who gets you out of it. So listen, I also wanted to talk about this trauma bonding. Um so hold on, because I did take a few notes because I knew I wasn't coming on tonight. So normally the person, I don't want to say the abuser, but the person, well, pretty much the abuser will normally be a person who, and this is not an authentic relationship. This is going into a relationship of trauma bonding. Okay, so my phone wants to act crazy on me. Okay, so that person, the other individual, normally seems to be a person who's always there to fix it, to fix my problems. You're there. They always happen to be the person who saves me. They validate my existence. This is what we look at the other individual as that person for us. Like, oh my God, every time I turn around, my family's not there. My friends aren't there. My church isn't there. People that know me the most, they aren't there. But this individual is always there to be the person to fix my problems or to save me when I feel like I'm about to fall apart, when I feel like, I'm feeling overwhelmed. This person always seems to be the person that is there to save me. That's what it seems like, right? And normally that individual likes to pull you away from your family, likes to pull you away from your friends, likes to pull you away from the people who love you, and likes to pull you away from the people who will fight on your behalf. Because listen, I got some good people around me. If it's a day and it seems like I'm overwhelmed and I don't have the energy, nor am I in the right headspace to fight, they'll step up to the plate for me. But there are some people who like to pull the weak person out of the place of safety so that they can be that person of safety. That person is always unpredictable, right? And you're always in a relationship that seems to be a roller coaster of emotions. Like every time you turn around, you're fussing about this, you're going through this, you're going through that. And most of those relationships, they mirror a pattern of your childhood. I know you see me on live. They mirror a pattern of your childhood existence, what your childhood used to look like or what you felt like, then they're able to relate to that. Um, and then we want to talk about toxic people bonding in a toxic relationship. Because listen, you can be a toxic person in a relationship. You can be a toxic person all by yourself. Their behavior can come in many different forms, and it often builds up over time. A toxic person. A toxic person is a person who's always got something negative to say. They're always trying to humiliate you. They're trying to humiliate you. Sometimes it may be out in the open, but most of the times it's when you're home. Say you got on a dress and you think you're really cute. They're going to humiliate you and say your hips look too big, or you look stink in that, or what have you. They're always got a air about them when they're humiliating people. A toxic person is a person who has unreasonable jealousy. Like Every time you turn around, they are jealous. They're jealous about your friendships. They're jealous about your other relationships. They're jealous about I don't know how you testified today. They're jealous about anything. It could be anything in the world, and they're jealous of you. That's a toxic person. And listen, and if you're already been in a relationship and you've trauma bonded, you'll make excuses for that individual of why they do what they do or why they say what they say. You'll constantly make excuses because you think that that individual is there to save you or to fix you or to help you, and so you don't pay attention. That toxic person is a person who's always controlling. They've got controlling behavior. Well, why you say it that way, or why you got to do this, or why you should do this, or you should do that. And I'm quite sure if y'all take a minute to think, you can think of a couple of people who are toxic in the relationship that you're in. Like I said, it can be friendship, it can be family, it can be a love relationship, it can be any kind of relationship that you have connected yourself to. All right. Simply because when you're going through something, I said it yesterday, when you're going through something, you're not really, most people aren't really paying attention to, I need to really focus and pay attention who I need to give my stuff to. You just want to be heard at that moment. You want your feelings validated. You want to just feel okay. So most of the times you connect with anybody, or most of the time, and I know you may be saying, I don't do that, but yeah, you probably do, because at that moment you're not paying attention and you don't really know the motive of the other individual. But that's a whole nother thing. That's a whole nother story. Okay. So when you are with someone who is toxic, that person normally causes you, or you normally find yourself trying to save them, but yet you're losing yourself, you're losing who you are, you're losing your own identity because of the fact that you're trying to save the other person. That's a toxic relationship, right? So be real quick. So you may say, all right, well, Meshell, you said all that. You told me what, it is in trauma bonding. You told me what it is in a toxic person. So how do I get healed? Because, you may be like, well, I realize now that I'm in a trauma relationship, or I've been trauma binding thinking that this is God because, this person is there when I'm going through, or this person knows about, the death of so and so, or this person understands being raped or being molested. And, that's not compatibility. It's not. That's trauma bonding. I'm sorry to tell you that. And you may say, okay, now I realize that I'm a toxic person, or the person or the people that I'm connected to, they're all toxic. So how do I get out of it? And how do I get healed? First of all, surround yourself with people who love you. Make sure that you surround yourself with people that will lift you up, that will encourage you. Make sure you surround yourself with people that will validate you. Make sure that you surround yourself with people that will praise you, not just people that tolerate you. Because listen, you can be in a group, and there can be that one or two people. Or also, you can be in a group of 7 people, and you really honestly don't even know for sure whether those 7 people really like you or not. You don't even know whether those people are supporting you. They could just be tolerating you. Oh, that's just Meshell. Oh, that's just Sherry. Oh, that's just Bob. And they're just tolerating you instead of celebrating you. So you got to make sure that you are around people who love you, who validate you, who push you to your best potential. Make sure you're around people who esteem you, who are always saying, of course, listen, because your good friends will make sure that they check you, but they'll do it in a way of love, not do it in a way where of embarrassment, or do it in a way where it's going to pull down your self-esteem. So that's the first thing. Make sure that you pull yourself away from always being by yourself. Listen, I'm the number one person. I love being by myself. I love doing things by myself. I just love it. Being by yourself for me comes with no drama. There's no drama, no hidden motive, no hidden agenda, because I know me. versus being with other people. But there are times when you have to make sure that you surround yourself with good people. All right. So that's the number one thing. Make sure that you're not always by yourself when you're going through something or when you're feeling dramatic or traumatized. Get around people who will lift your arms up. And I know that's hard to find nowadays. Okay. Number two, this is if you're trying to get to a healed place, a place where you're okay with yourself. And first of all, we know that God is the ultimate healer, right? We know that. But there's some people who may have to join a support group. Um, um, if you lost a child, find a group that it's all of the people are dealing with the same thing and trying to get better. A support group, a group that will support you to pushing you towards the best person that you can be. And most of all, practice self care. Like, love yourself. Do something for yourself. Buy yourself something, right? Do something that will make you feel good about you. If you just decide today that, because a lot of times I'll go to the shoe store, I love shoes. I'll go to the shoe store and I might not have no money, but I'm looking around and I'm trying on shoes, right? And that actually is a part of self care. Go get your nails done. Go get your toes done. You know, go get a body massage. Go by the water. Y'all know I love to go by the water. I will stay by the water 24/7 because that's self-care for me. I don't know. Take read a book. Put your emotions down on a book. I don't know what it takes for you, but make sure you put self-care in your list of things to do in getting to your best healed whole self. All right. And allow yourself time to heal. Because most time I don't know, we always want to be that strong person. We don't want people to know that we're going through. We don't want people to know that we need help. We don't want people to know that today we are emotional or what have you. Just allow yourself the time to heal. Somebody asked me yesterday, said, Meshell, how are you? And I changed the subject. And then they said again, Meshell, no, how are you? And I said, I'm okay, but I'm not the best. I'm not the best at this moment. And I said, but I'm finding myself doing things, staying busy. That's not being healed. I'm finding myself keep moving. That's not being healed. You may say, well, what is being healed? Being healed is being honest with oneself. You know, hey, I'm not doing well today. And I'm not going to connect with other people because I'm feeling traumatized at the moment. And I don't want to relate to someone or someone to relate to me just simply because I'm going through. I need to be okay with oneself. And that's being honest, with myself. And if none of those things work for you, seek counseling, like seek professional counseling, or go to your leader, sit down with your leader. If your leader is willing to counsel you, be as honest as you can. Listen, one thing about me is I know that a lot of people cannot handle the things that go on inside of my heart. They may not be able to handle a lot of things that go on in my mind because I'm going to verbalize it. If I feel like punching somebody in the face, or I feel like busting somebody in the head to the white meat, that's my truth. It's not saying that I'm going to do it, but that's my truth. Leave space for an individual to be honest and truthful so they can get out of that dark place, right? So seek counseling. And sometimes seek it from somebody that you really don't know. So that way they can give you an honest opinion about what you just given them. All right. And most of all, separate yourself from the relationship. Separate yourself from the person that is toxic. Separate yourself from the toxic relationship. Um, it may be challenging. It may be hard. Listen, shoot, Shawnee, it may even be depressing at moments as you're, separating yourself. But you've got to cut all ties. All ties, they've got to be cut because you and being in a being in a trauma bonding relationship, you always feel the need that you've got to be there for that individual. And again, you're not there for yourself. You're not strong for yourself when you're trying to be strong for somebody else. So it's important for you to move away from that individual, move away from that situation, move away from the toxicity, move away from it so that you can be okay and cut ties. Like, I'm not talking about, you know, I used to be that individual where I say, hey, I'm not going to deal with that individual because every time I'm talking to that individual, around that individual, I'm crying or I'm emotional or I'm depressed, and then we end up having sex. We end up having sex, or they end up doing something because the individual has now learned my behavior. They've now learned my signs. They know what buttons to push to take me to the right, or take me to the left, because they've been with me long enough. You need to pull away from that relationship, from those people, from that person, until you get whole and until you get healed, right? So cutting ties is necessary. If you keep saying, I'm just gonna move away until I get myself together, and then you go back, you're walking right back into what you're walking out of. That's abuse. That's abuse. And I can't even say that they are abusing you. You're causing abuse to yourself. So cutting ties, I don't care how long they've been there. I don't care how good it seems like they've been to you. When you separate yourself and when you cut those ties and you walk away and you look from a distance, then you'll see, like, oh my God, I really allowed myself to be in that situation. I allowed myself to go through that. Or, and you start thinking about, like, oh my God, all we talked about was pain. All we talked about was, going through. All we talked about is how your mother didn't treat you right and my mother didn't treat me right, or your father left you and my father left me, and that's all we talked about. And we never got past that place because they weren't strong enough to push me forward, and I wasn't strong enough to push myself nor push you forward, simply because we were trauma bonded, right? So it is important to cut all ties. It is important to separate yourself out of that traumatic relationship. It is important to separate yourself from toxic people. So listen, I just wanted to share that. And I mean, I'm quite sure someone else could do this and can go a whole lot deeper. And I'm quite sure I probably could do a whole lot better in this with an individual here with me, bouncing back and forth. But I don't know. Most of my life, I've been in relationships that were trauma bonding, and it seemed like that was the person that was going to be for me. That it seemed like it was soul tie, but it wasn't a soul tie. It wasn't a soul tie at all. We were just trauma bonding. All right. So I'm hoping and praying that you guys have an amazing day, and I'm hoping and praying that you guys do it on purpose. And again, I don't think we are going to do our show on tonight. And if we do our show on tonight, it'll be a rerun. All right. You guys have an amazing day and do it on purpose.